I hate the month of November. It's cold, the trees are bare, my golf clubs have been put away, and sunshine is measured in minutes instead of hours. But this November I like, because my wife Catherine and I are in Paris, France. Paris, the city of lights, the city of romance. We try to get to Paris, we need to get to Paris every 5 years to rediscover our joie de vivre. We're at the reception desk of the Hotel Haussmann, where the proprietor, Monsieur Ben, greets us with the same warmth and familiarity. Ah, Monsieur Paynter, vous avez retourné. J'espère your English is still most good. Monsieur Ben prefers that I speak English. My French is that bad. As a blind person, I always appreciate the fact that Monsieur Ben tries to get us a room on the second floor. It just makes getting in or out that much easier. There are about 20 rooms at the Hotel Haussmann, each one slightly different. Some have sloped ceilings, some are larger, some have odd-shaped windows, but all the rooms have a key. And I know, you're saying, well, I should hope they have a key, but I'm not talking about one of those slick magnetic credit card things. I'm talking about an honest-to-goodness stick-it-in-the-door-and-turn-it key. We once left the Hotel Haussmann for a few days in the country. Unfortunately, we also left with one of Monsieur Ben's precious keys. Upon our return, his greeting had changed. My key, my key, my key, you left with my key. Where is my key? To Catherine and I, it was no big deal. But to Monsieur Ben, who only had 3 keys, ours, his, and housekeeping's, for the entire time we were away, he'd been unable to let our room. The journey from the lobby to the room is a real adventure. It's either a narrow, circular staircase, and God forbid you should meet somebody coming down, or one of those old-fashioned caged elevators with enough room for 1 person and 1 piece of luggage. Today we take the stairs. We enter the room and drop our bags on the bed. Catherine flings open the French doors and steps out onto the balcony. The balcony is nothing more than a shelf. I squeeze in behind her. We overlook the Rue de Helder, a side street, but busy. Cars, scooters, taxis, delivery vans. And directly across from us, a perfumery. It hasn't changed in the 30 years we've been coming to Paris. Further along the street, a Vietnamese restaurant, a groceteria, and on the corner, a pizzeria. We linger for a moment, taking in the sights, the sounds, the smells. We have arrived. We've flown all night, but we're anxious to begin our walk. We don't unpack. We leave our bags on the bed and head downstairs to drop off our key. Mon clé, Monsieur Paynter? Merci. And head out the door. In 25 minutes, the Champs-Élysées welcomes us. With its clipped chestnut trees, broad sidewalks bustling with people, it's an exhilarating avenue. Designer shops, chic restaurants, cinemas. With a tug on my arm, we set off. We haven't exhilarated very far before Catherine bops into Versace. I choose to wait outside. There's a cold wind. I pull my gloves from my pocket. I can feel a weak sun on my face. I'm glad of that. I tune out the traffic and zero in on a pair of high heels coming my way. Short, sharp strides. She breezes by me. I pick up a scent of perfume or hairspray. Soon I pick up a sound. It's familiar, but I can't place it. A rattling. And then a smell. It's November, and the vendors are out roasting chestnuts. It's here in Paris that Catherine and I fell in love with roasted chestnuts. We consider ourselves almost experts. Back home, we choose chestnuts one at a time. If there's any give to the shell, we don't take it. We make a tiny slit in each one, arrange them on a cookie sheet, give them a light spray of water, put them in the toaster oven at 350 degrees for 50 minutes. Champagne goes best with chestnuts, as it does with most things, but our bank accounts prefer a $12 bottle of French red. On a cold, wintry night, it's wonderful to cozy up with hot chestnuts and a glass of wine. They are creamy, nutty, almost buttery. We continue our walk along the Champs-Élysées to the underground walkway that brings us up at the Arc de Triomphe. The Arc, built to honor Napoleon's victories over his enemies. The Arc and the square that it sits in is a favorite gathering spot for visitors. Today is no exception. The traffic circles us. There's a sense of wildness to it. I'd never try to cross the road. It'd be like trying to cross the 401. But despite the wildness, here in the square there's a sense of calm. People linger, recharging their batteries. We continue on our way, and soon we are queuing up for the elevator ride to the top of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower. Designed by Gustave Eiffel for the World's Fair of 1889. When completed, the French thought it was a real eyesore. This thing, when are they going to complete it? But today, hundreds of thousands of visitors come to the tower each year. In 1977, I made my first visit to the tower. I had my eyesight then. I remember looking down to the River Seine. Working boats, barges, tour boats. Like little toy boats, they moved up and down the river. And before me, the city of Paris stretched on and on. Even today, when we visit the top, those same images come alive in my mind. Up here, we can't escape the wildness of the traffic, as the sound of horns and sirens come drifting up to us. It's funny what you learn about your spouse after 20 years of married life. On our last visit, Catherine admitted she was afraid of the elevator ride to the top. But once at the top, she hated it. Maybe it's the tower's gentle sway, the occasional vibration, or the openness. Regardless, she's not going to let me make a journey to the top without her. It's part of our tradition. On the second floor of the Eiffel Tower is the world-famous Jules Verne restaurant. Catherine and I have been lucky enough to dine there twice. The first occasion was a real pressure-packed event. We both got gussied up. For Catherine, that was no problem. She travels with a lot of gussy. For me, it was a jacket and my Three Stooges tie. As we approached the private elevator, 3 tuxedoed hosts sprang forward to meet us. Bonsoir, monsieur, madame. Avez-vous réservations? Oui, yes. I suddenly wish I wore my Jerry Lewis tie. The Jules Verne has a seating capacity for roughly 120 people. At 8 p.m., it was only Catherine and I. 8 o'clock is pretty late for us, but much too early for the French. Even the chef hadn't arrived yet. We were the focus of the entire tuxedoed staff. One tuxedo led us over to our table. A second pulled out my chair and with a flourish snapped open my serviette. A third tuxedo delivered our menus, filled our water glasses. There's something wrong with this menu, Catherine said. What, is it in Braille? No, it's got no prices. I nervously felt for my Visa card. At the Jules Verne, if you have to ask prices, you can't afford to dine there. We ordered a half bottle of Pieperheizig champagne. After all, this was a celebration. We sipped our champagne. Catherine looked out through the steel framework at the lights of Paris. We sat quietly, she enjoying the lights, and me enjoying Catherine's enjoyment. A waiter appeared and poured the last of our champagne into our glasses. Other diners trickled in. We were relieved to no longer be the center of attention. Not that the staff had ever made us feel rushed or uncomfortable. If anything, just the opposite. They had put us at total ease. For the next 2 hours we strolled through our meal, savoring a taste of foie gras, artichoke salad, a mouthful of veal Oscar, sole almondine, and all accompanied by a soft merlot and the dazzling lights of Paris. And in my pocket, my Visa card gently wept. A slightly less expensive meal is our picnic lunch along the River Seine. We begin to gather our lunch around 12 o'clock. We could get everything we need from just one shop, but what would be the fun of that? We're on no schedule. Our stomachs will tell us when it's time to eat. We want to wander the streets of Paris, picking up items here and there. Lunch assembled, we carry the basket between us down to the river and seek out the perfect bench. The perfect bench? It's the bench in sunshine, out of the wind, and the bench that smells least of urine. While Catherine puts out our lunch, I listen to the river traffic. It's easy to distinguish between the heavy working boats, the gruff rumble of their engines, the stink of diesel, and the tour boats, always with a foreign language coming from their speakers. I wonder how wide the River Seine is here. I think I could throw a baseball across it. Déjeuner est prêt, Catherine says. We play a little game at these lunches. On a cue from Catherine, I rip off a piece of baguette, hoist a cluster of grapes. She picks up the wine bottle and a piece of cheese. And for the next few seconds, we pose as the tourists on the boats click their photos of the local French couple enjoying lunch along the Seine. The temperature is dropping, the sun beginning to set, shadows reaching out towards our bench. There's a dribble of wine left, some grapes, a bit of chocolate. We'll finish that before we push off. Push off where? To the Louvre? My friends always laugh when I tell them we visit art galleries. Why does a blind guy visit the Louvre? The answer is twofold. Through Catherine's description, I get an impression of the painting or piece of sculpture. Secondly, I get an unguarded glimpse into Catherine's heart and mind. I've discovered her descriptive powers begin to wane if she's angry with me, or like today, she's had some wine. We decide to skip the Louvre. To Notre Dame. Yes, to Notre Dame. It's just a short walk along the Seine. Up some stairs, we cross a bridge, and we are there. We move past a group of tourists and slip inside the cathedral. She leads me over to a hard wooden wicker chair and leaves me there while she goes off to explore. She knows I like the time alone. It's part of our routine. I'm seated next to a stone column. I run my hand across its surface. It's hard, cold, safe. Feeling it, I recall my first visit to Notre Dame. I had my eyesight, looking up to where the column fanned out across the ceiling, almost as if reaching out to the heavens. I remember the rows of lit candles. I lit one myself, but today I'd have to light a bonfire in order to gain redemption. Catherine returns and says, "You've got to see this." She leads me over to the confessionals, where there is one that is glassed in. You can't see the confessor, but the priest is in full view, and he is putting on a great show. He's looking disappointed, now stern. He's got his arms raised. I wonder what the confessor's done. If only Catherine could read lips. French lips. Before the priest begins his next show, we head for the bell tower and begin to climb the narrow staircase. Up and around, up and around, up and around. 387 steps to the top, and well worth it. From a dizzying height, we look down on the square in front of the cathedral. But we're not alone. To our left, to our right, the gargoyles. These grotesque creatures, half man, half beast, with bulging eyes and twisted lips, fangs. They welcome visitors and ward off evil spirits. We spend only 10 or 15 minutes up here, but time with our friends, the gargoyles, is important. When we leave Notre Dame, the sun has set. Streetlights are on. The wind has died down. We cross a bridge to Ile Saint-Louis, to a familiar café, Le Café de Paix. We select a table near the window and order "deux pastis, s'il vous plaît." Pastis. It's a French aperitif. Tastes like licorice. They serve it in tall glasses with lots of ice and a pitcher of water. You mix it to your own liking. The French have the ability to make their pastis last for seemingly hours. Catherine and I haven't quite mastered that. We sip, watching people hurry past, work done for the day. Some drop in for a pastis and a chat, while others rush by as if late for a rendezvous. Catherine and I are exhausted. Oh, we've walked and eaten and drank some wine, but the rediscovery of our joie de vivre is a full day's work. The following morning we slide across to the breakfast room of the Hotel Haussmann. It's an intimate little room. Tables arranged higgly-piggly. Table for 2, for 4, 1 for 6. The low conversation of other diners interests me. Japanese, Italian. There's very little English spoken here. The carpeted floor squeaks as we make our way to our table. Our table. It's the table along the far wall closest to the window, a window that overlooks the Rue de Helder. Our table has special significance for us. Way back in 1989, good friends of ours, Karen and Mike, honeymooned in Paris. They too stayed at the Hotel Haussmann. In a prearranged deal with Catherine, Karen stuck a note underneath the table. We were in Paris 1 month later. We went to our table, sat down, and Catherine felt underneath. There, still stuck, with bubble gum, was the note. It read, "Ha ha, we're in Paris and you're not." But wait a minute. If you're reading this, that means you're in Paris and we're not. Have a great time. When we leave the hotel, we are greeted with sunshine and a brisk wind. Kath and I are glad we bundled up. We don't talk much as we make our way along the sidewalk. No stopping for chestnuts. Catherine's not ducking in and out of shops. Each step seems to bring us in contact with more and more people, all heading the same way. They too seem oddly quiet. As the number of people around us grows, it becomes more and more difficult for Catherine to guide me. Suddenly she stops. "What's the matter, Kath?" "You should see this motorcycle cop, dressed entirely in black. Boots, gloves, bulletproof vest, sunglasses, and strapped across his chest, a machine gun. He's eyeing the crowd. I don't think he likes your white cane." We pass by him, continue on, but soon can go no further, our way blocked by people and steel barricades. Gendarmes are everywhere. It's strange to hear the Champs-Élysées so quiet, so still. Then Catherine says, "Oh my God, there are snipers on the rooftops." It's November the 11th, Remembrance Day. Only a few hundred yards away, at the Arc de Triomphe, at the tomb of the unknown soldier, the President of France lays a wreath and addresses the crowd. I don't know French well enough to understand the ceremony, but I understand its meaning, and I feel ashamed. Yes, ashamed. Because although I observe Remembrance Day, even though I wear a poppy, I have never felt what I feel today. These people, their homes, their country, occupied, their freedom gone. We observe a minute of silence. I understand the heavy police presence. Somehow, here in Paris, the threat of attack seems much more likely. The ceremony wraps up. The quiet is shattered by the roar of the presidential motorcade as motorcycles and cars fly past. Soon, traffic returns to the Champs-Élysées. The crowd begins to thin. Kath and I are in no hurry. We slowly make our way to the Arc de Triomphe. We want our turn to pay our respects to the tomb of the unknown soldier, to reflect. This is our last day in Paris. Tomorrow we leave from Gare de Lyon for the south of France. But before we depart, we'll make sure we leave the key with Monsieur Ben, so it is there, waiting for us, the next time we visit Paris.